Why is it there's so much replays that sent here to me are on this map? I never get this map. I also never get any ZVTs. I think there's actually 2 that's been sent to me right now that's ZVTs. I never get any ZVTs. I think I'm missing a ZVT and a TVP on my channel that's played by me. Anyways, stop talking about myself and let's introduce the players. Over here on the bottom left corner of... I know this map. No, actually I don't because I never play on it. Condemned Ridge. I think that's what it's called. We have Match without a T. And up top right, we have the blue Protoss Wargwolf. And this is going to be a PvP. Always an interesting matchup. Not my favorite. I think my favorite... Actually, what is my favorite matchup? I don't know. I don't really have any favorite matchup, but I do have ones I hate. And it starts with Zerg, and it ends with Zerg, and it's a mirror matchup. But yeah, PvPs, lots of possibilities. I've seen people do DT rushes. That's not really as cheesy as you might think. It's actually a valid build. People will go Immortal Drop, people who go Standard Robo, people who go Blink Stalkers, and my favorite, of course, the Phoenix play. Over here we do have 12 gate out of our blue player and 13 gate out of our red player. Or I guess that makes it 14 gate. But either way, openings don't really matter that much. Red player's scouting late. So the thing with PvPs is that you don't really need to scout early at all. Because if you get into the base before the core is done, what are you going to see? You're going to see gateway, you're going to see core, and you're going to have absolutely no idea what he's doing. And after the core is done, you're going to have a little bit of time while the stalker's building, and after that, your basically scout is dead. Pylon placement, not the best. I would say probably put one out somewhere to get a lot of surface area to build buildings with. The second one, probably to power the gateway again, just to overlap so things can't focus down the pylon. Third one, I usually like to place in a place where I can warp in to either shorten the travel distance or to reinforce the natural properly. I just don't like placing buildings really close to my mineral line because half of this, like, look at all this area here. If I click on this pylon, it actually doesn't show the field right now. Actually, all of this space can't be used, so I kind of like to build my pylons outwards. Red player's pylon placement slightly better. We have a second assimilator going down for our red player. Let's bring up the production tab. Second gas, and our blue player doesn't seem to like Vespene gas very much, although as a Protoss you really should be liking your Vespene gas. Artosis pylon here powering both gateways. Not a great thing. I would actually like to see a second gas. Usually you don't do your second gas if you're going for a fast expand or if you're going for a 4-gate. Although really 4 gates, I think at the lower level 4 gates are actually better with the second gas, getting lots of stalkers. Just because lower level player actually, yeah, it takes skill to kite around zealots. Well, when I was doing my 4 gates back in my gold league, I find that getting stalkers is better than getting zealots. I don't know why. It just seems to work better for me. Now I do the zealot 4 gates. I guess it's because the zealots get kited a lot, which doesn't make sense as if I was 4 gating. Whatever, it was a long time ago when I was in gold league. And I don't cheese anymore. I always go fast expand if you watch my casts. But yeah, we do have 2 gateways on the way for our red player. The warp gate timing is almost identical. We do have more gateways on the way for red, up to a total of 3 now. Our blue player seems to be getting 2 gates and a robotics. It's also a valid opening. Both can be powered off of 1 base of production. We do have the... Let's open up the units count. We do have 22 to 25 probes. Our blue player is slightly behind on the workers. Although really the saturation here is, I think, optimal. No, this one's actually got 1 worker. So I guess you can't really saturate with only 8 workers. No, 16 workers. This is definitely 8 workers because you have 2 rows of 8. And 8 plus 8 equals 8. I don't even know what base makes 8 plus 8 equals 8. If anyone that's competent with math can tell me that in the comments below, that'll be nice. I don't know what base we're working with to have 8 plus 8 equals 8. Although we do see a forward proxy pylon from our red player, seems to be doing some kind of pressure off of this. This is actually a 4-gate. And there's a random stalker that came in here, going to be killing off absolutely no probes because no focus fire whatsoever is being used. We have a stalker coming in. This should be able to defend against the stalker. We have 1 probe kill. Should have been able to get more. The second stalker from our red player is going to chase the stalker back. We do see more stalkers warping in for our blue player. Should probably chrono boost out an immortal and get some zealots, because immortals just wreck any stalker's day. We do have a zealot and a sentry. I don't really like the sentry when doing offensive pushes, just because it's kind of worthless. Sentries are more to be used for defensive purposes. We do have a pylon going down for our blue player. A sentry for our blue player would actually be really useful right now, although our red player being a coward backs off right now. This is not looking good for our blue player at all. Although the immortal is on the way. I can't assume that's an immortal because it'll be dumb to get an observer out right now. Focusing down a zealot, it does have more DPS. Everything's focused on the robo right now. I don't think they're gonna get it since there's stalkers coming up. It really shouldn't be focusing the robo with these stalkers. Sure, I can understand going for the probes, so trying to focus that down is just kind of dumb. Losing how many stalkers now? I think he's lost 4, and now more stalkers are gonna go down. The robo's almost gonna fall, but even if you manage to kill this robo, you're delaying the tech a bit, and you're going for a 4 gate. I don't think that's gonna help because our blue player can probably just warp in 3 sentries and hold the ramp enough to get up more stalkers, or enough stalkers so that it won't be a problem anymore. Although with the immortal out right now, I think this 4 gate is going to be over. Although we do have continued unit production over here. We have 26 to 26 probes right now. And we have an expansion going down for our blue player. Our red player is catching back up in the probe count. Let's take a look at the units lost tab. Our blue player lost almost nothing. That was a very well executed defense for our blue player. Although that's partly because of the focus fire on the robo right now by our red player. Not right now, before, a little bit earlier. We do have the forge going down. I don't know if that's a better choice than the robo bay. I don't know, because getting the robo bay means you can start colossus production earlier, and usually Protoss versus Protoss, if it gets to late game, it comes down to colossus count. We have the robo coming down for our red player right now. I don't really know why the robo instead of an expansion. Maybe he's afraid of a push out. Although our blue player, I guess he can push out with the immortals. But trying to push up a ramp of a Protoss without any massive units to crush force field, very difficult. So I wouldn't really try it. Blue player scouting out here. I don't know why scouting the army composition. Really should just be looking for an expansion, because usually the Protoss after doing that can probably either go for Robotech or DTs. So there's really not much to scout up here. I just don't find scouting Protosses in general very useful, because your Protoss army is just going to do the same against every unit composition there is. We have a forward pylon being set up. Well, not really forward, since it's just a couple of steps from the base. Blue player right now chrono boosting out the Nexus for more workers. We do have more gates being added on. I would like to see some chrono boosts being used on the upgrades instead of, well, I guess workers are important right now. We do have continuing immortal production. Now this army is very good at dealing against armored, and it has decent anti-air, but I would like to see some zealots in there, just because zealots can eat up stalker shots all day long. And that's kind of why I like to go zealots, immortal, phoenix. Just because that unit composition can eat as many stalker shots as they need to. The Phoenix can suppress down all the immortals, and if the enemy has any zealots, they're just going to be caught up on our own zealots. So basically, that composition doesn't really have any weakness. I guess archons, but archons don't really come out early on. Second base going down for our blue player. The gas is done. And I think we should be able to see a massive unit worker lead for our blue player. Yeah, there's a 8 worker discrepancy right there. I don't know my English. We have 3 sentries for our red player. I don't know if that's going to be useful at all in late game. I guess Guardian Shield lowers damage by 2, so it could be useful, but I always forget to put up the Guardian Shield when I play Protoss. Although when I play Phoenix, I usually all my gas is dumped into Phoenix and Immortals. So I don't really have any for sentries, and also sentries are just kind of bad for when you're attacking. What do we have out of here? We do have a lot of observer produced for our red player, and we have the Colossus Bay going down for our red player. And we have a second forge going down for our blue player. So red is probably going to have a Colossus lead right now, although a worker disadvantage, which probably means our blue player can catch up later on by throwing down a second robo. I actually would like to see a second gas taken, as well as more probes being produced, even though there's a nice probe lead of 10 right now for our blue player. Looking at the units count, we have 13 stalkers to 13 stalkers. We have a 1 zealot lead for our red player, as well as a 3 sentry lead. But basically, by the time it gets there, it's probably going to be over. And our red player also has a massive 4 immortal lead, which means these stalkers are kind of pointless. They'll just melt to the immortals. This observer is coming out here, is going to scout the move outs. We do have a forward pylon set up. We always forget to set up our forward pylons before we attack. This isn't really late, but I think there's going to be a good 2 waves of reinforcements that won't be warped in through the forward pylon. The immortal should be up there tanking the damage. Our red player does have a lot of sentries, so he's going to be able to hold this, I would say. It will be really unusual to see the game end just from this A move. It would be nice to have an archon in here. If there's an archon in here for our blue player, then this game would be over, just because there's no way to force field an archon. They're stepping on everything. We do have a colossus out for our red player, so I'm gonna say he's gonna be able to be fine for defending this. No extended thermal lance upgrade for our blue player, for our red player yet. And we got the Twilight Council going up for upgrades. Upgrades in Protoss versus Protoss, not as important as the Colossus count, but it's still very important. Also not as important as the other matchups. Do not lead with your Stalkers, you should be leading with your Zealots. Those are actually some pretty good force fields, although the Immortal is just blasting away all the Stalkers. Should probably go for the Colossus. That's kind of out back right now. Our blue player should back off right now. This is a bad engagement angle. Although the Colossus does fall. Warp in more Stalkers. You should probably go for more Zealots. Although our blue player is forced to retreat right now and probably lose these Immortals due to their slow speed and the opponent's Stalkers. This Immortal should just turn around and attack to delay this army as much as possible. And this Pylon actually might serve that purpose too. But the other Immortal will go away, because if this Immortal shoots the Stalkers, like if it tries to shoot this will probably fall really easily. The Pylon is going to go down. Let's take a look at unit loss count. Tab. Virtually identical for both our players, although our red player does have a massive supply lead right now. Although not that massive. 5 supply for Protoss is not massive at all. It's like 2 Zealots and a probe. So yeah, let's take a look at the units tab. Over here we do have, actually our blue player's probe lead seems to have vanished. Red player does have an army lead right now with a lot of Stalkers. So a lot of Stalkers actually survive being killed. We do have continued Immortal production right now for our blue player. This observer here is not being very useful. We do have a third coming down for our blue player right now. The main is actually getting mined out pretty soon, so I would actually start transferring these workers. This is definitely oversaturation for 4 mineral patches. We have another robo going down, so double robo production with Colossus is very scary against any race except Terrans, because Terrans seem to be able to deal with anything thrown at them. This isn't a QQ imba. You know how I am in my casts. This observer actually sees everything right now, and this observer just needs to take a couple of steps down here so this army can shoot at this. Although I'm watching a replay, actually when an observer stands still, it's really, really hard to spot. So I don't really blame our blue player for not killing that off. Although this is going to spot the Colossus, so that's going to give our red player some information that he absolutely does not need. Because in Protoss versus Protoss, you can basically assume that 18 minutes in the game, someone's going to get Colossus. Or both players, actually. Unless they're going like DT harass or cannon rush into Void Rays into DTs. Which is typical for Bronze League and Silver League. Adding on more gateways for our blue player. Our red player actually taking a third as well. These too many workers here idle doing nothing. He's still up to, he's adding on the gateways as well. Let's look at our upgrades counts. We have nothing for our red player. And we have +2/+2 just finished for our blue player, so he's going to be ahead in the upgrades for quite a while. I'm saying that the upgrades aren't as important for PvP, but I'm not saying they're not important at all. I mean, yeah, the match can be decided by upgrades, of course, but just the Colossus count is going to be much more important. Army composition, we do see some Zealots being mixed in right now. I would like to see Zealot legs. That's actually done already. The Zealots are going to actually help out quite a bit in these battles, unless the Colossus count gets outrageously high, like anything higher than 5, because then the Zealots basically just melt. I won't say I want to see some carriers, but Protoss does have some pretty bad anti-air, so carriers could possibly work. I did just manage to get a carrier to work in a PvT, although I had a massive lead. and I almost lost the game because I made carriers. But yeah, we do have 5 colossus out for our blue player. Carriers, I would like to try them next in a PvP if I ever get that matchup again. So colossus count, we have 4 to 5 right now. Colossus count lead to our blue player. He also has a double robo to continue production. Actually, he went back to immortals. I don't know if that's a good idea. They can tank colossus and they can really take down a colossus pretty fast. But Twilight Council for our red player, finally catching up on the upgrades, or attempting to, getting the +1 armor. A lot of idle probes here, which really should be mining over here, because this is the world's best saturation right here. People at MLG should take notes from this. 2 workers for 8 patches of minerals. It's the world's best saturation. This isn't even fully saturated. We have 57 to 51 workers. Should get some more workers, both our players, because they're on 3 bases. We should be getting this Vespine gas. Our blue player should be getting some archons in this mix, just because archons are good and they'll melt away the zealots that are non-existent in the red player's army. I'm saying stupid things again. We do have a 4th coming out of our blue Protoss. I don't know if this is a good idea right now. Protoss can do really well on 2 bases, with 2 mining bases, that is. So unless this one gets mined out pretty fast, you shouldn't really be trying to take a 4th. This one isn't even saturated properly. This one could use another 5 to 7 more workers. We do have a lot of immortals coming out of our blue player. This is going to be good against his mass stalker army, and they're going to be good against the colossus, but just usually you can expect your opponents to get some zealots. I think in the battles that will be coming up, the zealots are going to be making a lot of difference, especially since the zealot charge is done, so they're going to be cutting up the stalker's face all day long. And let's take a look at the colossus count. We are even right now, although we have a 5 immortal lead for our blue player. Very nice lead right there. Chrono boost can actually be used on something right now, like these upgrades and this production. 3 observers. I don't know if I agree with that. 4 observers. That's way too many observers. I think your gas and your supply count can be used better on something else. At this point, I would say getting close to max out for a blue player. He should just be adding. Apparently, his tech choice is stargates, so we might actually get to see some carriers in this game. Adding on more gates would be ideal. Adding blink research, not really that important in late game, but yeah, definitely need more gates. I would say on 4 bases, you should probably have around at least 12 gates. And he's talking to me, this blue player, actually. I don't know where this army is going, probably checking for more bases. This is actually, I never seen this many bases out of a PvP before in the games that I played. This is a lot of colossus moving out. I don't know. Yes. Casting the PvP right now. Force fields aren't going to do anything at all in this engagement. We do see a lot of colossus battles. This spread is going to say favor our blue player. Colossus really should step on the force fields before, so that the immortals can get to shooting. We can see the upgrade advantage kicking in right now. With the colossus count even, this is going to definitely favor a blue player. Without any force field and with the immortals tearing up all the colossus, this game isn't going to last much longer. All the colossus goes down. There's nothing much our red player can do about this. And these robo units are just going to tear up the whole base. And our red player calls GG and leaves the game with 2 colossus that spawned. Although these can't really do much. So that was a really nice PvP. It shows the old style of his Robotech versus Robotech. Although now you kind of see a lot more of the mobile unit compositions like Phoenix and Zealot Archon. So yeah, that's a very nice PvP we just saw there, and I'll see you guys next game.